Sorry. All right, we're gonna rock and roll here. I hope my computer battery doesn't die, because that would that would not be good if my computer battery died. All right, let's rock and roll. We're coming back with AMX Weekly numero 88, number 88, and I'm coming to you not on a Saturday or a Friday, which encapsulates that week's learning. I'm talking to you now. I realize I didn't hit record yet, but I'm coming to you on the Monday after Thanksgiving, because I had family and festivities, so I just wasn't able to get to it. But now we are at it, and now let's rock and roll. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another week of AMX Weekly. A quick reminder: I want to run down through the content that we're creating here on the Spaniard Show. AMX. When you see the 3 letters AMX, simply it means learning. It means learning. It's my system of learning. It's the way I go about my daily life: reading, asking questions, jotting down, taking notes, redistributing. So AMX simply means learning. AMX Books. We are learning from books. AMX Kids, we are learning and teaching from kids' books. AMX Talks, we are learning from my keynotes, as well as interviews and conversations that I have from Dredd and some of the incredible guests that we have on the show. And lastly, AMX Weekly is what did we learn this week, right? So we have AMX Books, AMX Kids, AMX Talks, AMX Weekly. There are 4 different ways, 4 different formats to learn. The Spaniard Show is about becoming the world's toughest lifelong learner. So I'm bringing to you those 4 different pathways. Pick and choose one, all, whatever. Any one of them, whatever one floats your boat. Another new and interesting and cool thing that we're trying on the Spaniard Show is a way for you to help support the show. Patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. And what Patreon is it's a platform that enables you, the listeners, to help support us, the creators, to do what we do best, which in my case is learn and teach. So if you'd like to check that out, Patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. The link will be in the information in the show description. Let's dive into this week's AMX Weekly. Sources from this week's AMX Weekly are coming from the book Unplugged, coming from the kids' book Where the Red Fern Grows. I'm going outside the box a little bit and bringing in an interview I heard of Jason Khalipa on my friend Kyle Kingsbury, the Human Optimization Hour with Kyle Kingsbury. It was an interview from his podcast. And then closing it out with the solo-sode from myself, the Spaniard. And that's going to be an interesting one. I like to divulge. This is real, right? Fighting, I was a wrestler, I was a fighter, now I'm a Spaniard. I'm a speaker, podcaster, guy who learns a lot and teaches you all. And the truth in all of that stuff is it's hard and it sucks. And you either get punched and kicked in the face, like actually, or metaphorically. And the last Thursday's episode, I'm going to divulge some information that probably I shouldn't, right? For the long-term support of the show, sponsorship, etc., I probably shouldn't divulge it, but whatever. It's real. And I want to paint an accurate picture of what it's really like behind the doors, having created 900 plus episodes. Let's dive into the first bullet point. This AMX Weekly document is what I'm reading from. Quote, this is coming from the book Unplugged from AMX Books 616. Quote, if you see that your self-worth has become dictated by your results, try to assess your own standards and introduce new interests that broaden your perspective on life. So if you see your self-worth is straight dictated by your results, right? So you're a student, you're a salesperson, you're an athlete, you're a singer, you're a whatever you are. If your self-worth is dictated by your results, you take a test, you fail, you feel like garbage. You're a singer, you sing in a concert, you sing like garbage, you feel like garbage, you are garbage. So what the authors in the book Unplugged are saying is if your self-worth is dictated by those results, assess your standards, but do other things that broaden your perspective on life. Case in point, why did I bring this to the table? In professional fighting, you fight every couple months. Sometimes it could be 6 months, sometimes it could be a year, 2 years even. What was happening to me, generally I would fight in January, then again in sometime early summer, May, June, and then again in early fall, September, October. And dependent upon whether I won or lost those fights, I would either feel like $1 million or I would feel like absolute garbage. for that time span, that 3 or 4 or 5 months in between fights. And it just got to a point where I couldn't take it. I didn't like it. I wasn't having fun. I just felt like garbage. Look, you get knocked out cold or strangled or whatever, and then you got to sit on that for 4 months and bask in it. It's terrible. So what I had to do is I had to like restructure the way I thought and the self-worth that from which I attained. Like, how did I gain my self-worth? Was it strictly on winning or losing? And a really neat thing here, an active thing that you have to do, that I had to do. Introduce new interests that broaden your perspective on life. Look, when you're a professional fighter, you win and lose by the sword, right? You live and die by the sword. And you think that the only thing that matters is me winning this fight. Before I had kids, I had no idea how much more important things there were to life than winning a fight. So do these things. Do anything. I'm not saying go have kids strictly to broaden your perspective and horizons on life, but do things that get you outside of your box and make you realize, oh, this thing on which I'm hanging my total self-worth, while it is important and valuable, there are other things in life other than just this one thing. Moving on to the next bullet point. I love this one. And I'm going to give you an image, a mental image, a visual to take with you on this one. Coming from the book Unplugged. Discipline means creating a daily rhythm of purposeful practice in activities that intrigue, excite, and challenge us, and being open to new experiences as well. Purposeful practice in activities that intrigue, excite, and challenge us. Intrigue us. Are you interested? Are you intrigued? Are you doing something that piques your interest? Excited? Are you antsy? Do you have maybe some sort of anxiousness? Maybe it's just straight bliss and excitement. And are you challenged? Are you stretching yourself? This morning in the frickin' gym, using the Bulgarian bag, yes, I challenged myself. I was nervous. I was nervously excited. I was anxious because I knew it was going to be hard. Does it intrigue me? Yeah, because there's like science and philosophy behind this Bulgarian bag that piques my curiosity. As a wrestler, right, the Bulgarian bag was introduced in Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europeans coming up as a young wrestler, me, it's like, whoa, they're Eastern Europeans, they're tough. So it intrigues me, it excites me, it challenges me. It reminds me of a heart rate image. This is what I'm not telling you to do this. I'm saying this is what I do, and this is what I love doing. This idea, that daily rhythm of purposeful practice, that activities that intrigue, excite, and challenge, it's like a heart rate monitor. You know, when your heart rate monitor goes and it's flat, you flatlined. But if you do these things that intrigue, excite, and challenge you, then it's these blips. And of course I like to rest. You can't not rest. You have to rest. But if you get in this mindset of, I got to be purposeful about this, I got to be intentional about this, things are going to intrigue, excite, and challenge us, get your heart rate. Get those spikes in your heart rate, folks. Moving on to AMX Kids. So AMX Kids is we're reading kids books and extrapolating learning principles, life lessons from kids books. This is from AMX Kids 22. New episodes come out on Tuesdays. So we capped off our journey with Where the Red Fern Grows in this past week's AMX Kids. And I took a summary or a summation of the book. And I thought, I just sat down, what I like to do with reading, you know, with reading, especially for me, but anything you learn, you know, you can take notes, copious notes, and you can, you know, if you're sitting in a class or you're at a presentation or you go to some sort of seminar, you take copious notes. I take lots of notes, right? When I was at the muster, the Jocko and Leif event, Echelon Front Leadership, I took copious notes. But there's a fine line there because you can take so many notes that you don't even focus on what you're doing, right? You're not even consuming it because you're worried about taking so many notes. So it's a blend, it's a dichotomy, right, that exists between taking notes but not so many notes that you're not even listening to what they're saying. And one of the things that I have to remind myself of that is, all right, Spaniard, slow down. The things that you're supposed to retain, you will retain. I truly believe that, right? If you're putting everything of yourself into learning a thing, right? Like I said, whether it's a piece of music, it's a leadership event, it's a book, it's a conversation, whatever. What trickles down, the trickle-down effect, you're going to retain what you're supposed to retain. So oftentimes when I close a book, if I want to do a summary of that book, I'll just close it, sit there, and start thinking. What hits me? What strikes me from this book? So with Where the Red Fern Grows, and this was such a powerful book. It's one of the most popular youth books there is. I feel like this and The Outsiders were the books that people requested most for me to cover on AMX Kids. But I sat down and said, all right, what are 5 life lessons to take from Where the Red Fern Grows? The first one was Old Dan's relentless pursuit. So Old Dan is one of Billy's dogs. Old Dan's relentless pursuit reminds me and teaches us purpose, right? And that purpose in life. And there's goods and there's bads. There's pluses and there's minuses. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. But that came from Old Dan's relentless pursuit. The worrisome nature of Mama taught me to be considerate of the people around you and remember how your actions have an effect on those around you. Billy's inability to understand certain things. Why is this happening? You can't know. You don't know what you don't know. You can't know until you know. Experience, wisdom, trusting that things happen for a reason. Billy's connection with his dogs and their connection with each other. I said something on this morning's AMX books about living more richly and fully and being aware of the world around you. That's what that taught me. Billy's connection with his dogs and the dogs' connections with each other, it reminded me of how valuable it is to connect on a human-to-human basis with other people, to form bonds, to develop trust, to express your vulnerability and put that vulnerability in someone else's hands, because that's a special thing. Is it going to hurt sometimes? Heck yeah. But is it like a giant portion of the fun of living? Heck yeah. And the last thing is the dramatic impact of childhood. And I think it's important for us adults to remember, but kids, if you're listening, if you listen to this week's AMX Kids, to remember that even though they're kids, even if they're young, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, whatever, what's going on in their lives is super important. And if grown-ups, if you think back to your youth or how you are today, I know for me specifically, a lot of the things I went through as a kid are why I am the way I am now. So kids, don't think we don't know how important it is. And parents, coaches, mentors, etc., remind yourself of just how important it is. And even though they're just little kids, it still matters, and to them it matters the world. Moving on to the next bullet point. So, in my life, I'm from Pennsylvania. I lived in North Jersey for a while, but even when I was living in North Jersey, I would commute back and forth between Pennsylvania and New Jersey and New York to train, Pennsylvania to live, New Jersey, New York, to back and forth. So 78, 287, 80, all of these routes that go in and out of New York and New Jersey from Pennsylvania, they get, I can't think of a better word, clustered. Let's just say, let's keep it clean. It becomes a giant cluster. Yeah, that word. It's a cluster. So you tend to have a lot of time sitting in traffic. And thankfully, podcasts for me, but audiobooks as well, you're able to utilize that time. And as I was coming back from a jiu-jitsu private that I did over in New Jersey last week with my friend Dr. Tom, I was sitting in traffic. I was sitting in traffic for hours, and I was consuming a lot of podcasts. And one of the cooler things I've heard in a long time, so there's a guy named Jason Khalipa. He's a 2008 CrossFit champ. I believe he took second and third in subsequent years, maybe like 2013 and 14. But he was on the Human Optimization Hour with Cal Kingsbury. Cal Kingsbury is a friend of mine who used to fight in the UFC. Now he's the director of Total Human Optimization at On It down in Austin, Texas. Cal's a good friend, and he's an inquisitive guy, and he asks great questions, and he's just a lover of learning. So he had Jason Khalipa on his show, the Human Optimization Hour. And if you're into CrossFit or you know anything about CrossFit, I'm not particularly into it, but I know about it. And there's this thing that AMRAP, that's the first time I heard of AMRAP, as many reps as possible, was coming from CrossFit. I don't know if it was invented in CrossFit or they'd use it. I don't know. Anyway, it stands for as many reps as possible. You have a set time, you have exercises, boom, go. You do as many reps as possible. You get the most out of that exercise, or out of that time period, or out of that segment, that compartment of training. AMRAP, as many reps as possible. So I was listening to Jason Khalipa, super sound, super knowledgeable, super well-spoken, nice guy, right? And he said that he one day he went in and he was doing an AMRAP, and it was a particular workout, and he thought to himself, why can't I just do this AMRAP with every single thing I do? And then he started talking about how easy it is. And this really does fall in line with the book Unplugged that I'm currently reading, about detaching ourselves from technology, detaching ourselves from all of the stuff, all the essential chaos to create mindfulness and presence, etc. He said, why can't I do AMRAP in every single thing I do? When I'm with my kids, like be totally all into being with my kids. When he's with his wife, be totally all into being with his wife. When he's in business, be totally all into being into his business. It's that AMRAP mentality, getting the most out of it that you possibly can, rather than when I know I'm speaking for me right now, when I'm with my wife or my kids and I'm thinking about business or I'm thinking about a book, I'm thinking about whatever. He's saying, no, let's compartmentalize, let's segment our day to get as many reps as possible out of the different important areas of our lives, and you can figure them out by aligning your time with your values. But I thought that was really, really neat. This idea of segmenting your day into different sets or exercises and zeroing in on each one to reach full efficiency, right? Whether you're with your kids, your wife, your husband, your job, your whatever, but getting that AMRAP mentality, that getting the most out of each particular setting, I thought that was extremely cool. Moving on. I love this stuff. I love reading because it's teaching me, and then I get to teach you, and then I get to put myself in front of the bus because I'm guilty of this stuff. So this is coming from the book Unplugged. Quote, when we get fixated on textbook form or hanging on a certain guru's every word, we're no longer growing, but only adhering. So there's a dichotomy here. Because to be the world's toughest lifelong learner, you have to continue to learn. And as you learn, you'll evolve. And as you evolve, you change and you adapt, and then maybe something else will come along. So you are sort of a chameleon. This is interesting. It's kind of like that guided drift idea that we took from Mr. Rogers' book, The Good Neighbor. The guided drift is, we're going down a river. There's a stream that's going. The parameters of that river are our values system, but then within that value system, we're open to the current of life and the different things that are going to come our way in that river. It's the same idea here. I'm constantly learning, right? I'm constantly learning. So I'm going to say it's difficult, or you have to be aware, or you have to be intentional about not just hanging on your, quote, hero's every word, because then you learn what works for you, then you maybe learn something else. So if you're going to commit to this lifelong learning idea, it's extremely important that you have a sound value system in place. Otherwise, you're going to go off the rails in whatever direction the next guru is telling you to. But I think there's another great reminder, and this comes from Bruce Lee, and this pretty much summarizes how I approach it. I'm open to the idea that, hey, I am going to change. Hey, I might hop on a bandwagon for a minute or two, and that bandwagon may or may not stick with whatever. But there's a sound value system in place, which I think is extremely, extremely important. Bruce Lee says this, quote, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own. Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own. I think that's a really great way to summarize what we're talking about here, that we have to learn. If you're going to commit to being a lifelong learner, you have to consume. And you're going to think different things about different things at different times. Get that value system in place. Absorb what is useful. Discard what is not. Add what is uniquely your own. Moving on to Thursday's episode, AMX Talks, number 206. So let's talk about moving through frustration. I said at the beginning of the show that I was going to present some data here that isn't quite flattering. But whatever, it is what it is. You get knocked out every once in a while. So for some reason, the algorithms, and I don't even know that word, I know what it means, but I don't really know what it means, changed on social media. So I normally post my links, my listen links, my download links, my Spaniard Show links to social media. Something changed on social media. So my downloads, my listens were cut in less than half, right? So I went from X per month to X divided by 2. Now that's the opposite of what you want, right? That's not growth. That's the opposite of growth. We don't want that, but something outside of my control changed. In retrospect, it was good because it forced me to get a real view of where I'm at. It forced me to reassess some things and move forward in a different direction. But this is coming from Thursday's AMX Talks 206, and it's neat. It's a neat episode. It's a fun episode. It outlines the structure and the format of the Spaniard Show. with AMX Books, AMX Kids, AMX Talks, and AMX Weekly. It spells it out for you. It also gives you a way that you can help support the show, that you can help support the Spaniard Show. If you value what you're receiving, if you value this movement of lifelong learning, you can do so at patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. The links are going to be in the show notes and descriptions below. But this is it. Quote, I'm 900 episodes in, and I'm getting basically 100 downloads per AMX. I think that means close up shop, dude. But I'm not closing up shop because I believe in this too much. But it really and truly is mind-numbing. It's baffling how that can be, but it is. So what I'm referring to there is growth, 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 and then something changing in the world of social media and downloads where it just get cuts in less than half. It's baffling. It's mind-numbing. But I just believe in this thing too darn much to let it go. And I simply will not stop. And it's very real. You know, if you're building something, trying to build something, trying to lose weight, trying to enhance your whatever area of life, know that it frickin' sucks and it's hard. But if you truly, 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 truly believe in it, there's no other choice than to not stop. Moving on to the last bullet point. This is coming from Unplugged. And this was a really cool nugget here. I think intent is huge. Intent. In pretty much everything we do, intent is paramount. So I got this from the book Unplugged by Brian McKenzie, Dr. Andy Galpin, and Phil White. Post-NFL career, Archie Manning had a desire to spend a lot of time with his kids. So he did, right? And he did what he was good at. He played football, and he played, taught the kids how to throw and to catch, etc. So by way of wanting to spend more time with his kids, he happened to raise two quarterback NFL Super Bowl champions, Eli and Peyton, right? So he didn't say, I'm going to raise two Super Bowl champions. He said, I want to be with my kids. And by way of that, he raised two Super Bowl champions. But he simply wanted to spend more time with his boys. So what happened was a byproduct of his pure desire to be with his kids. So whatever it is that you want to do, examine the intent. Think, why am I doing this? What is it for? Is it to get 1 million followers? Or is it to help people? Is it to get this promotion? Or is it so I can make the company better so it can help other people? I think that's really, really extremely important. And it goes to the foundation, the intent, which then goes to our good friend, the why. Like, why are you doing these things? I thought that was a really prime example of how it should be. This has been AMX Weekly number 88. A reminder, I appreciate... Like I said, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. If you want to help support the show, there's a couple of simple ways you can do it. You can leave a review on iTunes. We're about ready to eclipse 100 reviews on iTunes. Don't know how to do it? Ask me. Communicate on social media at Charlie Spaniard. And lastly, the Patreon. If you want to help support the show, you can. Patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. Patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. That's it, folks. Hope you have a great Monday after Thanksgiving, a great week, and I'll see you every Monday through Friday for AMX Books. See ya. Computer is about to die. We made it. The computer is about to die. You all, thank you for tuning in. Reminder, all these videos are going to be uploaded to YouTube. You can now subscribe on iTunes, Spaniard Show. You can go to youtube.com/Charlie Spaniard to get these videos in a nice little catalog, or you can watch live videos, facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard. Connect on social media at Charlie Spaniard. We're bringing it, folks. Have yourselves a merry little day. See you.